This video is an extract from our weekly podcast, which is available right now on our Patreon page at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. Or you can wait till next Wednesday when it goes live to everyone. Cheers. So let's move on to Jump then. So this is Jump, subscription-based gaming new thing that is now in beta. You can trial it now, and there's a little small sample of games that you can play. They've pitched it as the Netflix of video games. It's going to launch later this summer on Windows, Mac, and Linux with 60 games, 60 to 100 games.
Has it got a theme tune? Is it the Girls Aloud Jump?
Jump.
Crisscross
Jump. Not really.
It doesn't.
No, I think so. So they're going to add more games periodically, and they say it's like highly curated. So the point they're making is it's not going to be like Steam Greenlight trash and loads of, it's going to be good, like indie darlings that the team really like and that are reviewed strongly. Those are going to be the types of games that you can play on it. So there's a closed beta, and that's going to be running until July the 24th. So you can jump into that and have a spin. Right.
Is I the only one who noticed that? Guys, you're so slow.
It's like dead right all over again. Anyway, the subscription, when it actually goes live, it'll start at $10 a month, and you get unlimited access to those games. So it's basically like Netflix. There's all this huge library that you can dip into as much as you want, and it's $10. Now, what it does differently is it's not like PlayStation Now, which is just shit cloud streaming that doesn't work very well. This is kind of partially installs it. It downloads a bunch of files, a bunch of key files when you fire it up. So you got to wait like 30 seconds to a minute before the game actually fires up, depending on how many files are and how big the game is and stuff.
So it works kind of like miniclip.com or like a Java, where it kind of it works in your browser, and you've got to wait a bit, but it's a decent game at the end of it.
So the idea is that there's no latency then. You've got some of it, and then I'm assuming in the background then it's downloading more stuff as you're playing, and it's not like it's having to send your controls to the server and back every time, which makes playing games not so fun because there is a bit of latency. So there should be, in theory, no latency in this kind of model, which is interesting, right? So the games you can play on it in beta already. What were you playing? Teslagrad?
I was playing Teslagrad, yeah. A little bit before we recorded, didn't I?
And there's the Bridge, which is like a logic puzzle game, and an action game called Stunt Runner. There's just a small handful basically to test the technology out. There's also going to be games for HTC Vive and Oculus Rift, which is
that is good. Yeah.
How are they going to manage that?
I'm not sure. So the first question I've got, you've had a go on it, Jake. What's your first impression of it?
It's cool. I love the idea. I mean, do you want me to talk about what's on there?
Totally, yeah. What have you been playing?
Well, Teslagrad. That's it, really. There's another one, Sproggy Woods or something like that. I was having a little go off.
Feels like a made-up kid's word. That,
yeah, I just
kids
made
insult.
it up.
Sproggy
yeah,
Woods.
your little Sproggy Woods. It's real good. Now, I've got a Steam Link at home, and I stream my PC to my telly, and the latency is a bit of an issue. I've bought the things to turn my connection, wired through the power supply. I've had to do a lot of tweaking, a lot of calibrating. You can tell when there's a little tiny bit of latency. Yeah. You can tell. This, smooth as hell. Downside of it, of course, you're going to need an internet connection to play. Not that stable because you're downloading partial assets. The idea of playing indie games whose main criticism, too short, not worth the money. If you've got 2 hours to play What Remains of Edith Finch, that's the mention for the week, and you don't want to spend £15 on a 2-hour game, and you've got a service where you can play all these like Netflix.
But is that's a question. Like, are they going to be able to facilitate games like What Remains of Edith Finch? Is that part of the list of games? Because it seems to me like the games that they've offered or that what we've seen are really simple, and it might be a limitation of the technology to be able to offer games that are full 3D type of world.
I thought that as well, and I thought maybe they're just picking these because they're 2D. And then I saw the Vive, and I'm thinking Vive's going to take a lot of power, because even a 2D Vive game, it's still rendering in, So I'm thinking, maybe not. The thing about indie games is loads of them, the way that they're developed, it's not just for aesthetic purposes. They have to have 2D graphics because they can't make
realistic, isn't it?
Fully realized games. So like you see Owlboy and Cuphead, which is coming out. So all 2D. That is the question on my list. Now I think because of the Vive thing, it kind of gives it away that they might have a lot of processing power, but you might have a very good point.
So is there implication that they might be able to have these like huge games with 3D environments? But so far we haven't seen evidence of that. So
what's on display is not very impressive.
Yeah,
it's all stuff you could play you could probably play all these games on the SNES.
Well, yeah, that was my other question as well. There's websites out there like miniclip.com or king.com or whatever they are. I don't play much of them myself, but they offer that same kind of experience with those indie games. All right, they're real bottom scrape of the barrel type indie games, but they're still games that you can play. So what's going to tempt people away from playing those types of games? Because there are people out there playing them games for free and moving them over to this service where you've got to pay a subscription.
That's where the highly curated comes in, isn't it? Their sales point, these are going to be amazing 9, 10 out of 10 games that you'd have to pay 15 quid to play one of them otherwise. I think that is the strategy. And also when like internet, when our technology improves, which it will in 2 or 3 years, everyone will have fiber optic broadband eventually. It'll be able to download more assets in shorter amount of time and stuff. As a starting point, just having 2D side scrolls and stuff, I think is fine. You'd expect as the technology improves, as more people get fiber broadband and stuff, they can just put bigger games on there, 3D games like Edith Finch.
I used to subscribe to a service called OnLive, or I had a trial at least. I don't know if you remember OnLive, but that was full. I tried BioShock, the original, on that, and that was a full. You'd play on a server elsewhere. There wasn't much lag, input lag, but the resolution, because my internet connection was limited, the resolution was lowered. But that was a reasonable experience. I'm thinking to myself, why don't more people offer that type of service where you could literally play on like a laptop or something?
Anything that you can plug a controller into, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You can play on a tablet, maybe. You know what I mean? You can play a full game, a AAA game with awesome graphics, as long as you've got the connection to support it, on a tablet. That idea is amazing to me, and I think that if nobody's doing it, because OnLive died, didn't it, a few years ago, and nobody's doing it now. Okay, there's this
PlayStation
jump.
now do it. That's limited to Sony hardware, Sony games, Sony's back catalogue, which it's not even that good of a library of games to begin with, and it's like $12.50 or something like that to a month, which is too much, right?
For a lot of PS3 games and stuff.
Yeah,
OnLive was, I forgot the name of it. It must be the same thing. And my brother showed me a couple of years ago, and I was playing a bit of Arkham City, and it was new at the time, like fairly new, and I was like, this is amazing, this is awesome. I had a similar thing with you, like it got a bit pixelated, it would drop in frames. I remember going, this is really good, and I never remember the name of it, and you just made me like, I don't know.
It just died on its arse. I think it was just too early. Like people's connections aren't good enough yet. That's just
the technology wasn't there. But what I think is that although this jump sounds like it's taking a step in the right direction towards that, I think it might start paving the way for more services like this in future. The actual Netflix streaming, because this isn't the Netflix streaming, this is the really scaled down. I don't know. It's not Netflix the gaming.
I think they've done a very smart thing by targeting it to indie games.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see why it works on a business level, right? On one point, the hardware capabilities on their side need to be lower. Two, people that buy indie games are normally people who are more averse to taking risks. They're not buying big games. They're the ones that are spending this money. They've got the feelers out, if you know what I'm saying. They're ones wanting to check out all the stuff. I play a lot of indie games, and another thing is they're games that are shorter, who wouldn't necessarily pay to play any game for 2 hours or whatever. There's a new one out, Serial Cleaner. People are complaining that that's quite short. Indie games paved the way a lot of the time for a lot of things, in my opinion, but this is going to pay, and hopefully we'll see a more mainstream thing. Like you guys are saying, OnLive was ahead of its time, and I hope that it gets remembered as the one that it went out on its arse. Netflix, I'm sure people didn't think that was a good idea when that started.
Blockbuster famously laughed it off. Yeah. Blockbuster was like, this is ridiculous, and look where Blockbuster is now. You know what I mean?
And it's because just of the advances of technology, so you can now stream TV no problem. What's going to stop you streaming games? More technology, more advances. It's definitely not going to be a fad, this, I don't reckon. Streaming games, they're going to keep trying to find a way to make this happen.
There's a place for it in the future, I think.
I think they've framed it as well as they could have in the circumstances. Like you said, targeting indie is spot on, going for 2D side scrolls, which is achievable, and of course is going to be able to download all the assets quickly enough and stuff. And just the basic fact that, some indies are very short and maybe not quite worth the price for some people for that short of an experience. So this is ideal to get. If they can get older indies as well, games like, Brothers Tales Two Sons, which I played recently and stuff, which I can't see why not, because it's a small file size in that game.
That Limbo, Inside, stuff like that. Perfect.
It could build up
so many amazing opportunities.
Classics that you might...
So many games. Absu, people would be like, about paying for the price of that.
They might get
the opportunity is so exciting. If I could pay £10, you know what I mean, I would not recommend loads of indie games to people, because every single recommendation is another £10 out of your pocket. If I said, get yourself a month free trial to Jump, and then play Inside, Firewatch,
it would be worth it. I mean, I'd see the value in that for sure.
Yeah, so
they've framed it very well.
Why the haven't they announced their release titles? Because surely
they're probably working on it.
Yeah, it's out soon. It's out literally. It's weeks away. The beta's closing soon.
Don't get angry, dude. Just get patient. Just be patient.
I want to see what their release lineup's going to be like, because I'll subscribe.
It will be interesting. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
The trial thing is definitely interesting as well, because how long would they trial it for? Like, you'd need a good month, I think, to really see the value of it. You know, so
free trial. I mean, it's interesting. I wonder how many of the games on the lineup are going to be able to, because, by the way, quick one, you have to download the app or the executable file, or you can play the games in browser. You can play them in browser, like miniclip.com. So you can just go on Jump's website, play the games in browser. And I wonder if they do extend to Vive games. Could you play a Vive game in a browser? What the hell? That seems so weird to me. Yeah, it's got to be something, hasn't it?
That integrates,
So there we go. That's Jump, the new Netflix for gaming streaming services. Well, Netflix for indie gaming, I guess, more specifically. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with that. Thanks a lot for watching this podcast extract. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see a new gaming video from us every single day, and remember to check out Patreon if you want the full podcast right now. See you next time.